They'll never confront you directly, yet your silent resolve shakes them to their core. Not because you roar or brandish threats, but because you stand unmoved, observing everything, responding to nothing. They sense you're forging an unassailable citadel inside your mind, one no force can breach or bend. The world feeds on vulnerability, preying on emotional outbursts and rash reactions. But you have trained your psyche into a weapon of absolute stillness, a menace to anything weak, shallow, or fearful. True power doesn't clamor for attention or approval, it waits, studies, then strikes without warning. Forge your thoughts into strength, so enduring and precise that any attempt to rattle you shatters against your walls. Silence is not surrender, it is strategy. The one who fancies himself the loudest is easiest to dismantle, for he reveals his fears and plans in every boast. By contrast, you speak sparingly, while others flaunt their insecurities, you remain a cipher. Always assessing, always preparing. They teach you to wear your heart on your sleeve, to share your dreams and your wounds, to wear vulnerability like a badge of honor. Machiavelli would have scoffed, for every confession you utter becomes fodder for someone else's conquest. Instead, conceal your inner world. In that void, gossip withers, manipulation fails, and your power grows in the guesses and anxieties you sow. Weak minds recoil at discomfort. Strong minds convert pain into mastery. Embrace hardship not as an enemy, but as your sculptor. Each trial chiseling away weakness, revealing the iron beneath. While most seek distractions, you harness suffering as fuel, training your will to obey only you. Fear, anger, sorrow. Interrogate each feeling, control its flame, and deny it the power to dictate your actions. When you conquer pain, nothing can halt your ascent. You endure slander, betrayal, isolation, and still advance with tranquil certainty. That resilience unnerves them more than any threat you voice. Knowledge is the deadliest blade. Brandish it with ruthless efficiency. Moral men cling to virtue and predictability. Strategic men exploit what works. Learn every tactic of manipulation and seduction, not to fall prey, but to wield them yourself. Study the weaknesses of crowds, the vulnerabilities of leaders, the cycles of empires. Gather forbidden insights, the more unsettling the better, and store them like ammunition. Loyalty belongs to your vision, not to anyone else's comfort. Let them call you heartless, let them whisper you're dangerous. A thinker unbound by sentiment is the ultimate threat, unfettered, unstoppable. Detachment is the apex of supremacy. Walk away from anything that no longer serves your ascent. Relationships, beliefs, comforts, without a flicker of hesitation. While they cling to identities and labels, you shed them like masks, reinventing yourself at will. When attachments vanish, fear vanishes too. For what can they hold over you if you owe them nothing? You move through life as a calm storm's eye, unruffled by the chaos you leave behind. They may brand you cold or soulless, but you know true sovereignty. Connection without dependency. Emotion without enslavement. In detachment lies your final edge. The ability to outlast, outthink, and outsuffer every opponent. They will never see you coming, and by the time they understand, you will already have become the law. You become a phantom on the board, vanishing from their sight long before they realize you ever existed. Move like water, seamless, shapeless, impossible to grasp. In one moment, you blend into the background, eliciting no suspicion. In the next, you materialize at the exact point of greatest leverage, your silent intervention redirecting entire currents of fate. They will spend lifetimes tracing shadows, searching for patterns, only to find that every expectation you once cultivated has dissolved into unpredictability. By mastering the art of absence and sudden appearance, you warp their sense of reality. What they imagine you will do becomes your greatest weapon, because you never confirm or deny. Whispered speculations and half-truths swirl around you like a cloak. Each rumor, each misdirection is a blade you wield without uttering a single word. Information is both shield and sword. In the court of perception, you dispense truth like a surgeon's scalpel, precise, minimal, devastating. You allow fragments of fact to slip through your fingers, enough to validate belief but never enough to satisfy it. Let them chase after crumbs, reconstruct their own narratives, while you observe from the sidelines. When you choose to speak, your revelations land like thunderclaps, shattering illusions you yourself have planted. Contradictions become your companions. In the space between what is said and what is done, they lose their footing. Fear of the unknown grips them when the familiar pillars of certainty begin to quake. And as their confidence crumbles, you stand firm, the one source of resolve in a sea of uncertainty. Alliances and loyalties bend to your will when you treat them as tools rather than treasures. You extend your hand in friendship with the same detachment you reserve for swords. You offer trust sparingly, demanding a price even in camaraderie. Every bond you form is calibrated. You listen more than you disclose, and you observe how others reveal their motives through small gestures. When the moment demands it, you withdraw support like the tide receding from the shore, leaving allies stranded to decipher your retreat. This strategic severance instills a visceral lesson. Nothing and no one is indispensable. Yet, in your rare gestures of genuine support, you create debt, obligation, and longing. A tether that binds them to your cause long after you have withdrawn. Time is your greatest accomplice. While the impatient clamor for immediate triumphs, you cultivate the long game. Patience is your silent reservoir of power. Every delay, every calculated postponement sends ripples of frustration through your adversaries, inviting them to overreach. They will blaze with urgency, you will smile in stillness. You allow their strategies to reveal themselves in haste, then dismantle them with meticulous precision. Endurance is a weapon. Each moment you survive without capitulation is another nail in the coffin of their resolve. And when you finally strike, it is not in a frenzy, but in a crescendo, born of months or years of unseen preparation. The final note of a symphony they never knew was being composed. As you ascend beyond the reach of ordinary ambition, you transform into legend. Stories of your silent victories and impossible escapes will circulate like gospel among the timid. They will speak in hushed tones of the man who reappears where he is least expected, of the strategist who collects enemies only to dismantle them one by one, of a mind so inscrutable it seems mythic. In their fear, they will inflate your power until it becomes a living myth. And myth, once born, can never be killed. You are both man and idea, flesh and fable. Your presence is felt even in your absence. Your will is obeyed before a word is spoken. You realize that true mastery lies not in domination alone, but in the sovereignty of self. You have stripped away every dependence on approval, on comfort, on the predictable habits of the herd, and forged a spirit that answers only to itself. You are your own kingdom, your own lawgiver, free to act by nothing but the dictates of strategy and reason. Let them chase shadows, let them tremble at rumors. You remain aloof, unencumbered, sovereign. This is the pinnacle of power, absolute freedom within the confines of your own design. And in that freedom you become invincible, untouchable, unassailable, yet your journey is far from complete. Each dawn invites a recalibration of focus, an opportunity to refine your mental arsenal. At first light you awaken not to comfort, but to challenge. A rigorous routine of observation, study and reflection that sharpens your instinct and deepens your resolve. You record each victory, each misstep, as data points in your personal stratagem. Every encounter, trivial or monumental, becomes material for analysis, a case study in human behavior. You catalog patterns of speech, posture and glance, mapping the invisible currents of desire and fear that govern the masses. By nightfall, your mind is a forge, every experience hammered into the steel of your will. This disciplined cycle of learning and unlearning ensures your advantage remains perpetual. While others indulge in distraction, you cultivate an ever-evolving blueprint of power. In intimacy, you wield distance as deftly as closeness. You grant access not as a gift, but as a calculated concession, a currency exchanged for loyalty or information. Affection for you is not surrender but strategy, a means to test allegiances, unearth secrets, and gauge true intentions. When you withdraw, you create yearning. When you advance, you offer solace. Both motions are deliberate, choreographed to choreograph desire and dependent. Friend or foe, no one escapes your appraisal. Each heart you engage reveals both strength and vulnerability. In love as in war, anticipation becomes your ally. Permit them hope, but never certainty. And when they finally realize the gulf between expectation and reality, they bow not in worship, but in awe of your sovereignty. But within the arena of ambition, be it boardroom, battlefield, or social spectacle, you advance with silent momentum. You do not storm the stage. You shift the currents that carry others upon it. Diplomacy is your art and deception your instrument. A half-truth here, a concealed motive there, enough ambiguity to provoke curiosity and trepidation. You negotiate not from a place of need, but from a posture of controlled indifference. And every concession you extend is metered to ensure your counterpart senses both relief and disquiet. In alliances, you remain the axis around which fortunes revolve, yet you make no promises you cannot enforce. As projects flourish under your unseen guidance, you watch from the periphery, allowing credit to diffuse among those you have empowered, while you, the architect, remain cloaked in mystery. Over time, your legend will crystallize into something beyond flesh and bone. Songs of your silent coups will resonate in corridors of power. Rumors of your unfathomable calm will spread through taverns and palaces alike. This mythic persona is your final creation, more imperishable than any fortress or army. Let stories of your inscrutable gaze and uncanny timing circulate freely. Each embellishment is fuel, each exaggeration a shield. As the world chases the echo of your deeds, you stand above it all, untethered by mortal concerns. In this exalted state, even your retreats become prophecies. Your absence speaks volumes, and your presence demands devotion. Now, as you stand at the threshold of absolute mastery, remember that power is not an endpoint, but a perpetual endeavor. The moment you rest on laurels, entropy gathers strength, and your fortress cracks beneath complacency. Continue to innovate your tactics, to challenge your assumptions, and to probe the limits of fear and fascination. Embrace the paradox of power, that the greatest control is felt in the freedom to relinquish it. When you can offer dominion and withdraw it at will, you claim a dominion no rival can contest. This dynamic equilibrium of engagement and withdrawal, visibility and shadow, is the final tapestry of influence. Weave it with unerring precision, and you will not merely survive history, you will become history itself. Embrace this destiny. You are the architect of influence, the silent storm that unravels empires from within. Let every step you take be a testament to detachment, every word a weapon forged in silence and intent. When the world begs for explanation, offer only a measured glance. When they demand your presence, vanish into myth. Your thoughts are currents that shift the tide of fate. Guard them with secrecy, wield them with precision. In the court of uncertainty, your calm is domination. At the apex of your power, you stand untethered by fear, unshackled by desire, elevated by reason alone. Others bow to necessity, you transcend it, defining your own terms. In that ultimate liberation lies your unbeatable edge, not the force you display, but the freedom you command. Answer to no master, bow to no altar. Write your own laws upon the world, and let your legend echo in silence. Let your legacy be the echo of absence, a reminder that the greatest conquest is waged within. Law incarnate.